Okay, so I've got my intake manifold on. The weather's doing all sorts of crazy stuff, so I'm back and forth and back and forth. I think I'm going to go ahead and start on my fuel filter relocation. Fuel filter stock is over here. I could not for the life of me get that line cracked loose, even with the intake manifold off and both of my hands on that filter. Could not get the line cracked off. It's just entirely seized. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to cut the metal line, and then I'm going to put my fuel injection hose on it and clamp it. So to cut the line, I've got this OEM Tools little line cutter. You can get these at any, like O'Reilly's or AutoZone or pretty much anywhere that sells auto parts has these. The ones at AutoZone are green, the ones that are at O'Reilly's are red. So depending on what color you want, they're pretty much the same. I have a red one and I have a green one, and they both perform the same. I have this box of fuel injection clamps that I got off of eBay. These are pretty good. Got my Gates Barracade Fuel injection hose, which is the 4219BF part number. It's a 5/16 hose. Holds up to 225 PSI. I have some random fuel lines that have different angles on them. So these came off of various Civics, I believe. So I can use these to make a connection to my fuel rail depending on what angle I need it. Okay, so I've got my fuel filter here. And on the bottom of it, where the line is, I've put my cutter and clamped it down. I'm going to spin it around until this cuts off evenly, and then I'll show you how to put the hose on. Managed to cut the line, got it here. I don't have a flaring tool right now, so what I did is I basically stuck a bolt into the end of it and kind of pulled out to kind of flare the ends a little bit, so it'll kind of have something to stick onto on the hose. So I got the fuel hose put on, and it's clamped on down there with one of those fuel hose clamps. We got it ran up. There's many different possibilities I could take here. I could either put it here, where this is, and relocate this back here. Or I could put it back here. I think I've got enough line and brackets. I'm thinking about switching the sides on the fuel rail and maybe running it that way. So I figured out my fuel system. Basically, I have a Honda Civic fuel hose hooked in on the fuel rail here. Comes over, runs down. I cut the end of one fitting off and put my Barricade hose on and clamped it with a fuel clamp. That runs over. I adapted my fuel filter bracket to bolt in here on the firewall. This hose runs down and up. Have a 90-degree fitting off of another Honda Civic fuel hose over here. It has a fuel hose clamp on the bottom as well. Then over here, this runs down. This pipe runs down. Over here is the hose that runs down to the body of the car for gas. So it comes up here, goes through the filter, goes down, comes over, and goes to the fuel rail. I'm going to make some brackets to secure to the plenum to keep it away from the EGR or any heat sources. But yeah, now it's up here like a Civic, but instead of facing up, it's to the side. When I want to change it, I just undo that, undo this, take it off the firewall, change it, stick it back on. And I tested with the throttle body, idle air control valve, and the intake to make sure that it fit. And everything has room. Should be good. There's enough room there to still run my heater hose to my heater valve. So that's pretty much set. So yeah, now I got to put the rest of this together and test it. And if this works out, then that's how you retrofit your fuel system on a Honda Accord to be more like a Civic.